catch a bluefin tuna, and trade it for a car. This is no exaggeration, so a lot of people go after it. But there are dangers in the process of fishing, like a sudden storm and the sudden damage to the ship, the breaking of a fishing rod. Are you willing to catch bluefin tuna? Just how dangerous it is to catch bluefin tuna. Let's take a look. Night. Dave and his team have arrived at the port. Dave says he's got a big shot on this trip. He's very confident in his tuna catch. When he was 14, one has been caught with 1,000 pounds of bluefin tuna. Experienced, Dave was trying to keep his opponent from finding out where he was. In the afternoon, various materials have been purchased to equip the equipment. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he came to the port, finished loading materials and equipment. With the cabin lights off, at 4 o'clock, he quietly set out for Iceland. Even sailing ships are barefaced. The location of this fishing spot. They chose to be outside of room 2 in Iceland. This fishing spot is the one they know best. It's also where the most tuna are caught. Brother Beard woke up in the morning. Turns out Dave's boat is gone. He said he could find Dave wherever he was. He spent $2,000 on materials and equipment. After placing the bait material in the cooler, put the rod and line equipment in the cabin. I started heading towards Iceland to find Dave. The camera comes to Bill. Bill won a bluefin tuna race once. They caught this 5 years ago. A tuna weighing more than 1,000 pounds. The other one weighs 700 pounds. He said he was confident this time. This time, he will take his wife Mina with him. He knew he was in a dangerous position. You can get caught in a storm if you're not careful. While they were all on their way, Dave has arrived in Iceland, and after drinking tea and enjoying the beautiful scenery, they will be preparing richer lures. After putting the bait in the water, before they get here, I've already made a few swings. By this time, Beard had seen Dave's boat. After he stopped the boat, he put the rod and line together and started throwing in the bait. Other side of the lens, Paul says as long as the bait is in abundance, there will be tuna swimming up to eat. While he was assembling his fishing line, Dave's already picked it up on radar. There are 3 big fish under the boat. When he marked, suddenly the detector drops. At once he came to the fishing pole. At this time, Huzi brother also found 3 big fish. Swim to Dave. Suddenly the fish are served. As you can see from this bend in the rod, it's a 500-pound fish. Dave quickly pulled in the line. His teammates slowly adjusted the hull. As they carefully brought the fish to the boat, Dave realized it was a thresher shark. Finally, the shark cut the line. Sharks also dived to the bottom. Huzi saw that their fishing line was broken. Happy Point, a jade stream. Beard also picked up the phone to laugh at Dave. Dave also said it was an accident. Paul felt he had to serve the fish. It turned out to be a long-tail shark. What a bad day. While Whiskers and Chi were still laughing at Dave, suddenly a big fish swam up from under the boat. He baited the hook and released it into the sea. Then something started to happen. With the sound of the fishing line, Jay heard the noise, too. He quickly hauled in the line. It was his first big catch. In the process of retrieving his fishing line, put a small food, causing the big fish to disconnect. At this time, the Beard brother angrily scolded Jay, but he can't do anything right. Jay can only. I listened helplessly. He also realized that he was apologizing to the Beard. At this time, Dave also came to the Beard biography, made a mockery of them. He says that's what he gets for taunting him. The camera comes to Bill. He's been here 3 times. Still not a fish in sight. He contacted Dave, prepared to proceed to his position. Dave was trying to use Bill. Gave him a wrong spot. Dave's in the cabin. Already excited, he walked to the spot Dave had given him. I saw Dave's boat right behind me. Bill didn't suspect Dave yet. The camera goes to Brother Beard, doubtful at this moment. To make Beard happy, he caught a little fish. Huzi brother saw, just have a smile. He also used the little fish as a hat. They both became happy. At this point, Dave changed 2 fishing spots. Still don't understand why no fish bite. Paul said he'd take the bait. Now, they're not hungry. Fish have to eat. Just not yet. When Dave gets ready to pull the line, there was a sudden movement in the fishing line. The fish took the bait. He quickly hauled in the line. His teammates cooperated. The old horse slowly adjusted the boat forward. Now the big fish pulls the line to the stern, but their rods are on the side of the boat. Dave said to change the rod position to the stern. In this way, there is no decoupling. Paul heard. Also moved forward to help change the rod to the stern. Dave says this fish is very strong. It's like a tug of war with 50 people. After 5 minutes of their tug of war, as Dave pulls the fish over to the boat, Paul has seen a bluefin tuna. When the fish start to come out of the water, Paul's already got his harpoon. In one stab, Dave then took the rope and tied the fish's tail. After pulling the fish into the boat, they quickly put the tail of the fish. The section and head were cut off. Make the tuna stop moving quickly. Keeps the meat fresh. After they clean the fish, put the fish in the freezer quickly. Dave said, this bluefin tuna is estimated to weigh 600 pounds. How much can be earned back to Hong Kong? May know. At this time, the Beard still did not see a fish, just a bunch of seabirds, picking up his bait one by one. He also took out the thunder directly to chase away the seabirds. The camera comes to Bill. He changed his fishing spot twice. At last, there was some movement. When he was getting his fishing rod moved, there's a big trawler on the other side, headed for his boat. He hoped the net would not catch his anchor. If we hook his anchor, they get pulled down by big fishing boats. When the big fishing boat came to their boat, his worst fears were realized. The big fishing boat caught his anchor. He tried to communicate with the other side. Big fishing boats throw dead fish at them. He raised his middle finger in a mocking gesture. Bill was so angry that he made a beep sound. They still cut the anchor line in the back. If we don't, we'll be pulled down by big fishing boats. He said there was no anchor. The boat will not stay in the designated position. It also affects them badly. Fishing bait is a big worry. The camera comes to Dave. It was 2 in the morning. Dave and Paul are already asleep. The old horse was still up late throwing bait into the sea. By him sticking with the bait, the fishing line began to ring. The old horse also quickly held the fishing rod. Now, Paul heard the drip of the probe too. They were instantly refreshed. Get out of the cabin quickly. Adjust the hull. After the old horse handed the fishing rod to Dave, he went to adjust the hull. Bend through the fishing rod. David guessed that the fish was about 800 pounds. Paul was very excited. I got the harpoon. When Dave pulled the fish over to the boat, when Paul threw the harpoon, the soldier made a mistake. No stab. But Dave didn't make a mistake. He continued to pull the fish to the boat. The second time Paul finally nailed it, they drew the fish to the boat. The tail was hooked up and the fish was hauled onto the boat. Turns out it was a bluefin tuna. At this time, they excitedly expressed, "Today they caught 2 bluefin tuna." That's when Bill found out Dave had lied to him. He couldn't believe it. Bill, however, lost faith in Dave. The next morning, Bill got a message. Not far from him are some bluefin tuna. Now Bill quickly went to New West Point. Sure enough, there was movement as soon as they got to the probe. They put the bait in the water. Soon there was a hissing noise from the receiver. Glasses man quickly twisted the reel. At last Bill smiled. He began to command. Nami kept adjusting the position of the boat through the Glasses brother quick line. It dragged it about slowly to the side of the boat. Bill had already got his harpoon. Gradually, the fish came out of the water. Bill took the harpoon and shot him through the right. They pulled the fish into the boat. Turned out to be a 500-pound bluefin tuna. Bill returned to Hong Kong overnight. The specific income will be known after return to Hong Kong. At this time, the beard is still shouting, "How come no fish have taken so long?" He said it was another day in the Air Force. Bill was the first to return to port to sell his fish. Their bluefin tuna weighs 500 pounds. Today they make $3,000. Then Dave returned to the port. Their bluefin tuna weighs 800 pounds. Today they make $6,000. What other big fish will be caught next? Let's wait and see. Why do so many people want to catch tuna? Because you can earn it in a day at sea, to $10,000. Of course, catching tuna is also a dangerous business. It's not just the weather. The fishing rod could break at any moment. Being pulled into the water by tuna is the norm. Seabirds attack you when you pass by. Trying to catch tuna, you need to have the technology to exact the thrusting weight. Is likely to succeed in capturing. Vision, would you still like to go? Today Dave, Paul, and Old Horse are at the pier. Has left Gloucester Harbor in a pack. We're headed for Cape Cod to catch tuna. They turned around Cape Cod 3 times. Found the perfect place to fish. Then he stopped the boat. The bay is the place they know best. It's also the best fishing location. Dave's team caught a lot of fish this season, 10 times stronger than anyone else. While Dave was serving the fish, they don't have any. He catches too many fish. So they put the fish on the splint. Dave thought it was awesome to be in the lead. The swivel beard is right behind him. He goes everywhere with a beard, you know? Beard had already spent $3,000 before he set sail. Their harvest depends on these 5 days. On this cruise, they'll be with Sly Dave Kim, brother whose team has no money left. With his last $500, he bought various materials. If the equipment is broken, you have to fix it yourself. If this fails, will be his last. Brother who didn't see any fish today. He paddled stealthily across. Dave sticks side to sea. They try to catch some fish to feed to the seagulls. Feed the seagull and prepare to chase him away. Suddenly, they sighed. Dave looked through the fish finder and spotted a big one. I'm not sure it's tuna from this angle. When they want to mark, we've seen him around the ship. Paul used fish hunting. The test shows that the bait has been eaten. It's an 800-pound fish, just swimming under the boat. Dave found fish within 20 meters to 4 generations. Huzi saw 2 fish under their boat. They're eating Dave's bait. He could see it through his fish finder. There are more fish under Dave's boat. There's a big red sign. It's like a giant tuna. Dave, the fishing rod, is already ringing. He began to reel in the line. Paul saw a big fish. At this time, the old horse also cooperated with Dave to adjust. The boat moved on slowly. Dave keeps the tail out of the water first, so Paul can get stabbed in the side. That's what makes a successful capture possible. Past Dave's fast limit, gradually the fish came to the surface. We're only 10 meters away from the hull. It's nice to see the colors by the boat. It's a big fish. He leaned on the hull. It was Dave who had seen the mysterious colors. Then Paul took out his harpoon in a single thrust with skilled move. Then the old horse also stopped the boat. Keep the boat from hitting the tuna. When Paul gets the rope for the tail, the tuna swung his tail and hit Dave. It hurts like he's been hit by a baseball. He touched his face and continued pulsating. He hauled the fish up. Dave hauled the fish to the boat and estimated it was 550 pounds. Should bring in $7,000. At this time, Paul smiled happily. Beard couldn't wait to see Dave's harvest. He He wants to fish as soon as possible. Brother who saw a lot of fish marks today. There's just no hook. It's like the fish heard his mark. Suddenly, I heard the sound of fish finder. Brother Beard slowly redraws the line. He tried to take out another fishing rod. This fish has been spinning with Beard for 5 minutes. Just don't bite the hook. He pulled up the bait. I hope the big fish can fill him up. Foot time. Now there were 2 big fish under his boat. With the sound of the fishing rod drop, unclothed, quickly retract the line. Who's brother directly forward to help. Knott's got the harpoon ready. When the fish come out of the water, he got a straight shot. Quickly put the rope around the fish's tail. But the fish kept swinging its tail. It made Jay feel terrible. Whiskers said angrily that Jay was too slow to catch fish. Wait until the fish is out of power. The bearded brother was stunned. It turned out to be a shark, because they don't have a shark permit. Unsaleable, but you can save it for dinner. He says he wants to share what he catches. That's one of the things that Beard likes. He also took out the shark's head as a souvenir. The camera comes to Bill. They've had bad luck this season. A lot of fish were lost. Dave gave Bill the wrong address. It made it hard for him to trust Dave. Before Hooker went fishing, I have parties with my family back home. To feed my 3 children, he, too, ran to the sea. Became a fishing guy. The camera goes to Yellow Hair. By this time, they had begun to catch the bait, and Bill is still working on his own boat. Then Dave came to Bill's stick, bragging about how they caught a 500-pound fish. Said Bill angrily. Dave lied to him about the direction of the internet speed. Bill didn't catch a fish. Dave says it's the angler's secret. After he left, Bill dialed Yellow Hair's phone to tell Dave that he lied to himself. Yellow Hair said he would use a good way to get back at Dave. Dave was complaining about these fishers. Get angry when you can't catch a fish. When he found out that Yellow Hair was blaming him, he came to Bill's place with great enthusiasm. End of dinner, Brother Huzi began his fishing again. Fishwork also picked up $1,000. Went to buy the best equipment. Dave's been asleep for 3 hours. Still no fish bite. At this time, Yellow Hair called to say he's got giant tuna. Get Dave there as soon as possible. Beard's gonna lose $3,000 this time. Here, too, his team was better equipped. Dave came to Yellow Hair, and it's the place with the most boats. What does he mean to see? At this time, Yellow Hair said to him, there are no fish, and asked him to help collect the fish. Brother who was ready to put the equipment away. Now we're just waiting for the fish to bite. The line hissed. Brother Beard held the rod as fast as he could, determined to retrieve the line as quickly as possible. Leela came up and found the fish gone. But it was a tuna bite, just didn't bite the hook. The camera goes to Yellow Hair. Haven't seen a big fish all morning. It's all these seabirds calling. At this point, Bean Brother chased the seabirds out of the boat. They hate the seabirds. It was already raining lightly. The seabirds snatched up the bait that Bean had just thrown. Beanie harpoons the birds angrily. Yellow Hair contacted Bill as soon as he could. What should we do with the birds? Mr. Riel said it would be hard to dislodge. Only Nami can continue to cast the bait. Dave says seabirds are hard to keep away, but he has a bait net. Seabirds don't get the bait. All they have to do is put the bait in. The bait can be lowered to a depth of 30 meters. Paul says this is the best way to catch tuna. The rod was sizzling when he was putting out the bait. Dave's already said he's got a fish. He used skillful movements to bring the line back quickly. Bill saw Dave on the other side already serving the fish. Dave doesn't think it's tuna. He could already feel the fish destroying the line. He pulled it up to the boat, found it. Shark. He had to let the shark go. Reload the bait. Yellow Hair has found out it's a shark. Tell Bill. He is happy. And then there was movement on the Beard's side. The line was pulled 50 meters in 3 seconds. He found the fish had been cut off with a gun. Another bad one. It's easy to feel like a day is all sharks. It means wasting money on fishing. He was also comforting Brother Beard. There's gonna be a big fish on the hook. Yellow Hair got a call from Gloucester. Be a big fish. Hurry over and see. Beard needs a big fish today. He said he would end the competition if he didn't fish. Yellow Hair means to catch a huge tuna today. When Bean was putting out his bait, suddenly the fishing rod made a sizzling sound. Yellow Hair pulls in the line as fast as he can. Dave found the Yellow Hair by now too. Bean Brother slowly pulled the fishing line with his hand. Suddenly the fish hit the boat. Got Yellow Hair all wet. Bean Man pulls the fish to the boat. Yellow Hair puts the harpoon straight into the spear. They pulled the fish into the boat. The measurement exceeds the required size. The specific income will only be known after returning to Hong Kong. Now, Beard's fishing rod also sounded the sound of sizzling. He got out of the cabin quickly, grabbed the rod and reel in the line. This time it was a tuna. He pulled in the line quickly. I think this fish should be worth $1,000. Just pull it out of the water. It was a huge fish. Jay pulls the fish over the side of the boat. Beard's got his harpoon in hand. In one stab, when he caught the fish's tail with the hook, suddenly the equipment dropped. Jay got the rope around the fish's tail as fast as he could. Tow aboard after 2 sizes. Size up to standard. The specific income will not be known until the return of Hong Kong. What other big fish will be caught next? Let's wait and see. What kind of fish is Alice? Let him fish for so long. Do you think we can catch this? Today, Yellow Hair and Bean Brother came to the harbor. Placed the fish rod equipment in the boat. I'm going to start the ropes and start the boat, preparing to head west of the East Island to catch tuna. Yellow Hair learned, fishing friends in the west have begun to fish. Bean says he doesn't like working at sea on weekends. Too many fishers on the weekend. Let them have a big competition. Before dawn, Bean brother has begun to select rich fish to use as bait. He indicated a qualified bait will represent their harvest today. Come to Dave today. He found a fishing boat, stopped not far away. We'll be competing with them for fishing spots. He said he hated having people follow him fishing. This will affect today's harvest. Paul says there are too many boats out fishing on weekends. It also means that today's competitiveness has increased. The last thing he wanted was for the two ships to get too close together. Can cause the ship's anchors to hook together. Is a very dangerous thing. Dave says he's been fishing at this spot for a long time. They've never had a fishing boat come this close. But he has no right to kick them out. Paul thinks they should be kicked out. At this time, the old horse said that there was a fight at sea, but he never saw any of them. Paul goes straight to the action. The camera goes to Brother Beard. The fishing spot they chose this time was in the northern part of the East Island. He said the weather was not very good at this fishing spot. There is a strong wind every day. Affect the harvest. He's changing his fishing spot this weekend. The camera is coming to Yellow Hair. Beanie's already swinging. Yellow Hair means there's a little more people fishing today. He looked at all the boats beside him. It affects the catch of tuna. Just then a boat passed beside him, scaring away all their fish. He says it is difficult to catch tuna on weekends. Doug will be at sea. The real picture shows. Just then a fishing boat came up beside them. We'll stop next to them. Yellow Hair shouted for the opposite fishing boat to stay away from him, but he could not be heard on the other side. He said the two fishing boats were too close together. Can cause the Hair to cut the line. Now Yellow Hair can only shout. This is their fishing spot. Get the opposite boat out of this spot. The opposite responded, but has no intention of leaving. The camera comes to Bill. He looked for a fishing spot for 2 hours. Found too many fishing boats. It's hard to find a good fishing spot. Name representation. The last place he liked was where there were lots of boats. They need to get around the fishing boat on the other side. It's possible to find a good fishing spot. Bill said it would take a lot of time to get around, and there might be no fish there. The camera goes over to Dave. They began to cut the bait, ready to nest. As Dave fixed the rod, still saw the fishing boat opposite and didn't leave. When he put in the bait, the fishing rod began to make a silky sound. The old horse quickly pulled in the fishing line, probably 500 pounds from the angle of the rod. Dave rushed out of the cabin. The old horse handed the fishing rod to Dave. Paul's already got his harpoon. Gradually, the tuna came out of the water. Paul stabbed them with a harpoon. Pull the fish over the boat. Put a rope around the tail of the fish. Pull the fish to the boat. By this time, Dave could not hold back his smile. Paul quickly cut the fish's tail loose. It will calm the fish down quickly. At this moment, Dave was already showing off to the fishing boat across the way. This is the first fish they've caught today. Paul put the fish in the cooler. Use an ice pack. Dave said the fish weighed about 500 pounds. The specific income can be learned after returning to Hong Kong. Bill was still casting his bait. Eyeglasses. It's been so long without a fish. Bill began to laugh. Glasses. Nami said it was bad luck today. The camera goes to Yellow Hair. He contacted Bill. No one said there was a fish here, and there are a lot of boats bothering them. Bill says he doesn't have a mouth here either. At this time, the bearded brother came to another fishing spot. Still no movement on the fishing rod. Jay said it was a bad day. Not a single fish. He's been looking at the balloon on the boat for a long time. Still no movement. Huzi saw a lot of fish from the detector. There's just no hook. Angry Jay shouted out to sea. At this time, Brother Beard will take out the fresh bait. He said to catch big fish, use fresh bait. Suddenly, Jay noticed a shark on his fishing pole. He sprayed the shark with water and drove him away. The camera comes to Dave. He says today is a good day. This time, they had a harvest on their first day at sea. They catch one and return to port overnight. When pulling the fish out of the boat, they can't wait for the benefits. They ended up with $5,000. Today, Huzij took the unearthed sea fishing rod, ready to catch an 800-pound tuna. Nod is still asleep in the cabin. The big lame beard has started to throw his bait. Through the detector, he found something close to the hull. He brought out the lively bait. Don't forget to kiss it when you put it in the water. He said he had to catch a big fish today. Now the fishing rod began to stir. When Brother Beard brought in the line, he knew it was a shark by force. He cut the fishing line decisively. Let the shark go. The camera comes to Bill. He said he could not catch any fish. It could be his equipment material. Today he's going to buy better gear. At this time, the store manager asked him whether he had recently harvested. He said he had lost a lot of money recently. Still didn't catch a fish. When he bought the equipment to play, he remembered the picture of fish. Laugh happily. The camera came to Dave. He said today is still a little more competitive after they fixed the fishing rod. Paul says it's windy today. There could be big fish. Dave thinks the wind is about to pick up. The more expensive the fish, the old horse began to laugh. He said he'd get 800 pounds today. The camera goes to Yellow Hair. Yellow Hair can't stay any longer. Not a single fish. He thinks it's a fishing problem. Bean Brother also began to worry. He said the bait was ready to run out. At this point, the detector sounded a dripping sound. The fishing rod began to bend. Yellow Hair quickly forward to pull the line back. He gave the fishing rod to Bean. Bean says from this angle, I think it's a big tuna. He pulled the line in with a skilled tug. Suddenly, the fishing line was cut. Yellowhair looked at the fishing rod, disappointing. Bean said he didn't even notice when the line broke. Yellowhair pulls in the line, found the hook was gone. He said it was a particularly unlucky day. I finally got a fish. And the line broke. The camera comes to Dave. They have begun to put the bait into the water. Paul also took out his rod. He said when he took out the wand, has shown today's harvest. By this time, Dave had secured his rod. The detector also beeped. Paul threw fresh bait into the water. Suddenly, the rod began to bend. Dave quickly pulled the line in. Paul heard this and rushed forward to check. Dave pulled in the line with skillful action. His teammates also cooperated in adjusting the hull. He predicted from Larry that it should be 800 pounds of fish. Dave said the fish should fetch $10,000. Gradually, I can see the color of tuna. Paul saw that the fish body was already. An excited Dave eased the fish off the boat. Paul had already got his harpoon in hand. As Dave pulls the fish out of the water, Paul stabbed them with a precise shot. We'll pull to the boat. Put a rope around the tail of the fish. They start pulling the fish into the boat. After towing, Paul quickly drained the blood from the fish. Keep the fish fresh. Dave says he caught another big fish today. The specific income can be learned after returning to Hong Kong. The camera comes to Bill. He calls Yellowhair to tell Dave that he's already got 2 fish. Yellowhair angry said today he also on the big fish. Too bad the line didn't hold. Bill says he'll be catching fish soon. At this time, the Yellowhair is still complaining. 2 days and still no fish. Then Bean saw a boat approaching them. Yellowhair angry to scold the opposite ship. He said that when he heard Dave get on the fish, already angry, and then there were fishing boats. He called loudly to the fishing boat opposite. At this time, the opposite fishing boat also began to abuse. The camera comes to Bill. Their fishing rods still didn't move. Glasses says he's running out of bait material. Still no fish bite. Without fish, they will lose $500 today. They tagged a big fish half an hour ago. Bill looked through the detector. The fish is still in the bottom of the boat. Nami drops the last of their bait into the water. At this point, the probe began to make noise. As the fishing rod began to bend, Brother Glasses quickly pulled the line back. Nami looks like a big fish from this Larry. Just then a fishing boat came towards them. Bill says this will prevent them from getting fish. He shouted as loudly as he could at the fishing boat opposite, but there was no response. Just watch the fishing boats get closer and closer. Glasses says the boat's movement will scare the big fish. This can lead to big fish decoupling. When he was recycling his fishing line, sure enough, the line is still cut. Nami could only look at the fishing rod helplessly. Glasses pulled up the fishing line. Sure enough, it broke. Bill could only look at the cut fishing line. He said he lost another $200. Glasses' brother instantly lost the mood. Bill says it's an 800-pound fish. To cut the fishing line, at this time, he took out the walkie-talkie contact Yellowhair. It means he's a big fish. Unfortunately, the fishing line is broken. Yellowhair tells him to buy thicker fishing line. The camera goes to Brother Beard. Now he was pulling back the anchor. He says he uses many methods today. Still not a single big fish took the bait. He's running out of fish. No fish today. He will lose $300. At this point, Jay doesn't care about serving fish. They're out of bait material, so they return to port. The camera comes to Dave. They never run out of bait. Paul said he could catch another big fish. As they line up to return to port, the probe suddenly beeped again. Paul looked through the detector and found 2 fish. They threw the rest of the bait into the water. Dave put his fishing line in the water too. Already he felt the big fish coming towards him. The old horse said it was another exciting time. At this point, the receiver started hissing. Dave pulled the line in quickly. The old horse also cooperated to adjust the hull. Dave slowly pulled the line back in. We can tell by the pull that it should be 800 pounds. Paul got rid of the rope ahead of time. Dave then pulled the fish over to the boat. Paul also took the harpoon. When Dave pulls the fish within 2 meters of the boat, Paul threw the harpoon. Too bad it didn't hit, causing the fish to swim to the right. Dave continued to pull the fish closer to the boat. Now Paul prepares the stickbacks again. When the fish come out of the water, he went straight in with a bullet. He was too excited. Movement leads to a low shot miss. He laughed out loud at the second stab. Now, they dragged the fish into the boat. Paul quickly drained the blood from the fish. It keeps the meat fresh. It's a good tuna from this point of view. They use a lot of it. It's 4 meters long. They left the fish in bags frozen with ice. After tying the rope, Dave began to get excited. At this point, the Yellowhair team gathers the anchor and prepares to return to port. He said it was another day in the Air Force. They will lose $300 today. Bill says he hasn't had a harvest in 2 weeks. He also lost $500 today. That night, Dave returned to the port. They'll pull the boat out. You can see it's a pretty good fish. The seller offered $10,000 in return. Paul took pictures of his haul today. He laughed happily. Dave said it was a rewarding trip. What other big fish will be caught next?